Hello, SawStops are bringing their table saws to the UK and I've got their two more compact ones to try. This is the SawStops CTS or compact table saw. As you can see, I've also got the stand for it, which is really easy to get everything locked into place. I'm going to start by looking at what I think is the most important feature on a table saw, and that's the fence. So this stores underneath and then can come up and go on here in three different positions. To the left of the blade, but I always prefer it on the right. So we're going to go onto the first peg here. This has a rack and pinion fence. To adjust it, you've got this knob that you pull out and then you can wind it in and out. Now the beauty of this is it's always going to remain parallel. And then to lock it into place, tap it in and then it's rock solid on there. It's a really nice system. The fence has quite a few features, so you can wind it out or just push it out to its maximum setting. Now you've got a big gap in the table, no support, but there's this fence that comes over and goes down, and that gives a bit of support for a longer piece of wood. You can increase the rip capacity even more because there's a second set of pins on this fence. So just undo the clips and move it over onto the second set of pins, and then we've got even more capacity. For now, I'm just going to put it back onto the first set of pins. Now, if we wind the fence back in, this lower bit will hit the side of the table. But it has a second feature. I can lift it up and move it so it slides on top, and then we've got a thin ripping fence. Another great feature on the fence is a push stick built in, so it's always there when you need it. Even though this is their most compact saw, I think you've still got a good sized tabletop on this, which is nice and flat. On the front we have the controls for the blade. Because these are not in the UK yet, I have the US version, which has got a 10-inch blade. So the UK one and the Europe ones will have the metric equivalent, but it's going to be basically the same saw. So you've got the smooth, rise and lower here, and then if you squeeze in this, you can tilt the blade super quickly to any angle you want. Now that's a very quick system for changing the angle, but if you want to really dial it in, you can push this in and use the ratchet to micro adjust it to get the perfect angle you want. Something that can be quite frustrating on a lot of saws is the insert plate. This one has a little latch, lifts off, removes, no tools at all, and then you have some little grub screws for leveling. So much better than having to wind in and out bolts to take it off. They've really thought out the storage of accessories on this saw, so let me turn it round and show you. We've got this little compartment on the back which we just flick that and it unlatches, and I'll show you what's in here. In here we have our blade guard, and I've got the the metric riving knife. So this is a 250mm one, and we also have our miter gauge. In here also you can store a spare brake for the saw. Whilst I have this turned round, I'll show you the dust port, a nice large one at the back that comes off a fully shrouded blade. So I'm thinking the dust collection should be pretty good on this. Now I was impressed how the insert plate was toolless to change, but so is the riving knife, which means you can swap it out to one like this if you want to do non-through cuts, or sorry, keep this one in if you want to do non-through cuts, but you just lift the lever up, pull that out, and then you can stick in the one with the crown guard for the rest of the time. As simple as that. Amazing. crown guard itself is nicely thought out. These front bits are hinged, so they just lift up when you push a piece of wood through there. The mitre gauge that's stored in the back is one of the basic ones you get with pretty much every saw. It looks like it'll work fine and goes into T-tracks. But what's great is these are standard size T-tracks, so you can use aftermarket mitre gauges. And I've got a couple of SawStops own ones to try in the future. On the front of the saw, you've got a few more controls than on a normal saw. You've got a power switch. I've got it unplugged at the moment. And then you let it boot up, and when you've got a green light, it's ready to go. Then you pull out this big button to turn it on, which is great because when you want to turn it off, you've got this massive button to hit. You've also got a bypass switch for the skin detection system. It lists all the reasons you might need to do that with certain materials in the manual. So I think I've gone through the features of the CTS, the compact table saw. I'm impressed with the build quality and the array of features it has. Now let's have a look at its bigger brother, the Jobsite table saw. Now for the Jobsite table saw, which comes on this mobile base, which is even attached to in the box, so you can just roll it out of the box. A very good system. Down by the wheels there's a little pedal that you just push and then tilt it upright. We'll start again by talking about the fence. So it has a little holster for it down here. Pressing this button and it pulls out, then it goes just onto the track on the top. This is quite a different style of fence then. More of a T-shaped one. Slides very nicely on the rail, and then when you've got it in position, you press this down to lock it into place and it is rock solid. Definitely a beefier fence, more like a cabinet saw than a Jobsite saw. This also has a low fence on it, but a different design. You've got this piece that clips off and hooks around the back, goes in there and clips on the other side. I think that's going to work well, and it's not something I use all the time, but it's definitely nice to have. The CTS felt like a very nicely made saw, but this is even beefier. The throat plate comes off with this one very satisfying little catch, but it's a much thicker, chunkier material. Got the levelling screws again, but that's going to be very easy to remove and install again. This saw also has an onboard push stick, and it's kept where the holster for the fence goes, so you just reach over, grab it out from under there. So nice onboard storage and a nice push stick. The table also extends out on this. You've got this lever, you lift up, and then you can push the table out, and then to lock it into place, obviously you push the lever back down again. Now, you've got this empty gap again, so if you need a bit of work support there and the fence is over the gap, you've got this knob on the top of the fence. You twist that and this little shelf comes out to add extra support. On the other saw, all the accessories was stored around the back. Here though, when you extend the table, you've got this little drawer that pulls out and all the bits are in there. So you've got the mitre gauge, riving knife, the crown guard, tools, all in there, and there's space for a brake as well. Very well thought out. Operation on the front of the saw is similar. You've got the power switch, turn it on, and then it will start up and tell you when it's ready. Again, I've not got it plugged in at the moment. Then you have this big paddle, so pull it out to turn it on and in to stop. Really nice safety feature. Again, it's not just the flesh sensing technology I feel with these saws. All the safety features are really well thought out. The riving knife and the crown guard, so easy to install, and no tools, so everything safety related. Push stick storage, the power button, the riving knife, crown guard, everything to do with safety is well thought out on these saws. Plus the flesh sensing technology, of course. Now you might think that the flesh sensing technology is the big feature of this saw, but I think it's another thing that's really great, and that's this one turn raise and fall for the blade. Absolutely amazing. But if you want to micro adjust, you can just grab the wheel and turn slowly to get any kind of precise height you want. But most of the time you just want to raise the blade, and this is just the best raise and fall system I think I've ever played with. Changing the angle of the blade is just as quick. Pull in this red bit, 45, back to 90, super quick. But sometimes you want to dial in a really precise angle, and that's what this little dial does. You can just micro adjust the blade to get that perfect angle you want. Really nice feature. Let's pack this all down, and then I'll spin it around and show you the back of this. So around the back we've got the same size dust port coming off a nicely shrouded blade, so again hopefully dust collection is pretty good, and then we've got some tool storage for blade change, and you can get a spare blade on here as well. So I think that is basically all the features of this saw. So we've talked about this flesh sensing technology. Now to give it a test. So you normally use a hot dog, but because we're in the UK, I've been down the local butcher's and got some nice sausages. So this better work, because these are my dinner. So now I'm going to get the saw powered on until the green light comes on, indicating that it's safe to run, and then we can get it tested. Well, that was nerve-wracking, but worked fantastic. Not even a mark on there. My dinner is safe. Well, apart from the sawdust, but I think that'll wash off. I have the saw unplugged, so now I can get this brake taken out. So I've removed the riving knife just to give myself some more access. Take out this little pin, and then we can undo the blade. And get it removed. Okay, that's it out. Fascinating how it all works. I've seen people raise concerns in other video comments about setting off the brake with wet wood, but there's a simple way of testing that. You just get your bit of wood and touch it against the blade. So the light's green, let's touch against the blade, it stays green. Now, if I was to do it with a bit of wet wood, I haven't really got any at the moment, it should stay green as well. But if it went red, you wouldn't put it in. So let me just touch the side of the blade, and you can see it flashing red. So a simple way of testing any material before you put it through is to do that. So that worked fantastically, but hopefully I'll never need that feature to go off again, but it's nice to know it's there. So I've kind of given a run through of the two saws, not really used them yet, but I've got some projects I'm going to do. This was just kind of an overview of these two smaller saws, the CTS and the Jobsite. I'm looking forward to trying both of them. First impressions are they're both really nicely made. I thought the CTS was going to be the one I like best, just a smaller size, easier to move around in a small workshop. But now I've got this one out, the Jobsite, because of the mobile base and how easy it is to move. I think when it's stood up and against a wall, it's not really going to take up much more room, but you get a much bigger table. Both of them have lovely features. Both of them have great fences, but different. The rack and pinion's a lovely system, but then I like the chunky one on this. So I'm really torn with which one I'm going to be using the most, but maybe I just have to use them a bit and see which one. So definitely got some more projects coming out for these. So thank you for watching, everyone. I'll put a link down below to the SawStop website. You can check out all the specs actually, because I've not gone into those details. If you want to know cut capacity and all that, just read the specs online. I'm not going to tell you that, more of just my thoughts. So yeah, Thanks to my patrons, and I'll see you next time.